Hey there, Sabine here. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Back with another video for the 90-day visibility challenge. And today I am sharing a book recommendation. And this book recommendation is coming as a result of a conversation that I had recently with someone. We were just talking about a lot of books. And if you know me in real life, you know I love to read. She asked the question, well, of all the books that you've read, which one would you recommend that I start with? The first one that came to mind was Ted. So it's The Empowerment Dynamic by David Emerald. By far one of the most impactful books that I have ever read in my entire adult life. We'll call it that. There are a lot of books, including the Bible, that have been life-changing. But this book shifted something for me in the space and in the time that I needed that shift. And so if you haven't read this book or if haven't gotten it, as you can tell, I've enjoyed it immensely with all the tabs. But anyways, the most powerful piece in this book and the most powerful takeaway is that I learned about the dreaded drama triangle. And it talks about how if you look at a triangle, that most of us sit in one of three seats or we play one of three roles, and that's the victim, the persecutor, and the rescuer. And I remember when I first read this book, well, before I read the book, the coach that recommended it to me, he said, all right, I'm going to recommend this book and I'm going to warn you right now that once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And so I was just like, all right, cool, sure. Once I see it, I can't unsee it. Great. So I'm reading the book, or as I start to read the book and learn about the dreaded drama triangle, I immediately went to, oh yeah, I'm definitely the rescuer. Like I am, my savior syndrome is high for the most part. And one of the other things that the coach cautioned us was that we read it with an open mind and that we determine or we decide that we're more interested in getting to the truth than being right. And those words kept ringing in my ear as I'm reading this, and I was just like, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely the rescuer. I'm definitely the rescuer. I'm the one who's always giving, who's always doing, always whatever." And then I sat with it, and a truth was revealed to me that no, you start off as the rescuer, and you give and you give and you give and you give without expecting anything in return, so that you can build up all the resentment that you need to then sit in that victim seat. And I'm not going to spend this time telling you how wrecked I was in seeing that truth about myself. But then to that point of my coach, that once you see it, you can't unsee it. What I started to now see, because my eyes were open, is that most of us live our lives in that victim seat. We may not always start there, but that is the seat that is comfortable. There's enough in our society, there's enough in our religious doctrines, there's enough in everything that we engage with to bring us back into that victim seat. And so after reading this book, maybe like the second or the third time, I made a decision that I no longer wanted to, one, be part of that particular triangle, because there's another triangle. And that triangle is when you sit in either the creator seat, the challenger seat, or the coach seat. And I'm not going to sit here and say that it was an easy transition from being in the dreaded drama triangle to moving into the creator triangle, but it's been an intentional journey of looking at situations that I'm experiencing. Again, if you watched one of the videos last week, I don't remember what day it was, but questions that I now ask when I'm experiencing situations that on the surface, they don't look good, they don't feel good, they look quite opposite of what it was that I had intended to create, rather than fall into the why is this happening to me? What did I miss? What did I do wrong? Rather than even just going into that space, the questions now have shifted, they've changed. For what purpose did I create this particular situation? What was I hoping to get out of it? And where's the blessing in it? And even just shifting your questions moves you from a place. You may still feel what you feel, and that's okay, but it moves you into a place where now you can see yourself as the creator. One, that is so empowering. Two, that gives you a different vantage point to look at whatever the situation or the problem is that you're facing. And then you get to choose. Like you can look at it as this situation is persecuting me, or I created or I co-created this situation to challenge a belief, an old belief that I have that is no longer relevant, to challenge the way that I see myself, to challenge what I believe I'm capable of. And so I can't do this book enough justice. I just keep recommending it because I think it's so important. And it's the first step for us to start to build that agency within ourselves first, so that the things that are happening outside of us don't affect us in a way where we then, give up our power, so to speak, and give up our agency and sit in and choose to sit in that victim seat or that persecutor seat or maybe even that savior seat temporarily. So that's what I have for you today. I encourage you to check out the book if you haven't already. And if you're daring, like my coach challenged me, take full ownership of whatever seat that you've been sitting in. And then, if you don't want to sit in that seat anymore, decide what needs to happen, what needs to shift in your perception, in your way of processing information, in your way of being to move into that creator triangle. So that's what I have for you today. There is a reflection question in the captions. Feel free to check it out. I invite your answers in the comment section below, or at the very least, I'm always going to encourage you, take a snapshot, whatever you need to do to go ahead and journal it in a time that feels best and appropriate for you. With that, have a great rest of the day, and we'll talk soon. Take care.